Good day, everyone. This is Dr. Recuenco for HMP, fructose and galactose metab, and uronic acid pathway. This presentation is intended for educational purposes only, so do not sell or upload elsewhere. So these are the topics. Pate polyol pathway. So we're done with the big parts. So let's go to the minor pathways of carbohydrate metab. However, very significant if ma-compromise ang mga yan. Okay? So let's start with HMP shunt. This one. Kala mo maikli. Yeah, relative to glycolysis, this one is shorter. Okay? So where will it occur? Sa HMP, also known as pentose phosphate pathway, sa cool place, no? Sa cytosol. Because here, sinashuffle-shuffle mo lang mga carbons dyan. So, sa cytosol siya. Okay? So, pag tinanong, ang PPP ba nag-occur sa red blood cell? Yes. Kasi may cytosol din sila eh. Okay? So, in a cell devoid of mitochondria, which reactions can occur? Kung wala kang mitochondria, these reactions can still occur, huh? PPP, glycolysis, etc. Remember, mitochondria, mga hardcore reactions yan. Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, Krebs cycle, electron transfer chain, ATP synthase. Occur in so both cytosol and mitochondria, you have the following. Hug-pi, okay? Heme synthesis, urea cycle, gluconeogenesis, and pyrimidine de novo synthesis. Hug-pi, CM. Nag-occur sa cytosol and lysosome, yung mga ma-L, glycogenolysis. Nag-occur sa peroxisome, you have your catalase, enzyme, and oxidation ng very long chain fatty acids. Beta oxidation naman sa mitochondria. Okay? Remember that. Remember the locations. So PPP is also known as HMP, also known as PG, or phosphogluconate shunt, or Warburg-Dickens. Ang dami niyang pangalan, no? HMP, PPP, PG, Warburg-Dickens. Lahat yon pentose phosphate pathway. Okay? Synonym. Para saan to, Doc? This one produces your NADPH. Okay? Hindi yan check. This is NADPH. This one is needed for reductive biosynthesis. Meaning, you're synthesizing compounds from reduction reactions. For instance, yung lipogenesis mo, ito yung kailangan. Okay? You're synthesizing lipids through a series of reductive steps. Okay? NADPH, ha? PPP, maraming P yan. NADPH ang ginagawa. What else? The important sugar, which is ribose 5-phosphate. Okay? Important yan. Kailangan ng RNA mo. Okay? Etc. Kaya that's why inuna ko ang HMP versus nucleic acid chemistry and nucleotide metab. This one provides mechanism for metabolic use of 5-carbon sugars such as your ribose 5-phosphate. ATP involvement, wala. Walang pag-uusapang pera here. Okay? So, locations, ano ulit? Sa cytosol. Okay? Ng RBCs, tissues that produce lipids, and the following. Tandaan na, cytosol, may other name yan. Sige nga, anong other name ng cytosol? Baka lang lumabas. Search nyo yan, or discuss natin later. Saan magsa-start ang PPP? Tingnan yung pathway na yan, no? It all starts with glucose 6-phosphate. So, ikaw, glucose 6-phosphate, it's either tumuloy ka sa glycolysis if you need money, or store mo sa glycogen if you are in excess, or ma-divert ka dito sa HMP shunt. Okay? If you need the 5-carbon sugar and NADPH. So, depende nga yung ruta. Okay? Yung route, depende sa pangangailangan ng cell. Okay? But the thing is, it all starts here sa glucose 6-phosphate kapag PPP yung pinag-uusapan. And then, why is this important? Because in this pathway, you produce NADPH and ribose 5-phosphate. Rate limiting step is catalyzed by G6PD enzyme. So this enzyme converts glucose 6-phosphate to 6-PG. 6 patay gutom, 6-phosphogluconate. Okay? So remember glucose? It's an aldo hexose, meaning 6-carbon sugar. So right, left, right, right. Oh, this is D-glucose. D-glucose. 6 carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So i-phosphorylate mo lang yan sa number 6. Lagyan mo ng phosphate dito. Edi glucose 6-phosphate na. Okay? Significance, it provides an alternative route for glucose metabolism. Again, if you don't want to burn it, you store it. Pag pinurn mo, glycolysis. Pag in-store mo, glycogenesis. May isa pa bang ruta? Oo, dito sa HMP pathway. This one provides complete oxidation of glucose. Inubos mo siya. Wala nang tira, wala nang abo or whatever. More complex pathway than glycolysis, pero we'll try to simplify. Okay? The major function is to produce this one. And the most important 5-carbon sugar, which is ribose. May pera ba? Wala nga eh. Kulit mo. Fill in the blanks. Anong other name niya? Bukod sa HMP, PPP, PG. Yung paborito mo. Warburg-Dickin pathway or Dickin-Horeker pathway. Sa nangyayari to? Sa cool place, nagsha-shuffle ka lang ng carbons. The rate-limiting enzyme is catalyzed by G6PD. Okay, yung nawawalang enzyme sa G6PD deficient patients. ATP used or formed. May kinonsume ka bang pera or ni-spend or na-synthesize? Wala. Goal, to provide NADPH and to generate the pentoses. Where will it occur? So RBCs, lens, etc. Lactating mammary glands. Okay? Yan. What else? NADPH, anong silbi niya? Oh, this is for reduction. Pag sinabing reduction, di ba, naalala niyo yan? Oxidation versus reduction. Ito pala. When you say oxidation, dumami ang O, kumonti ang H. Pag reduction, baliktad. Kumonti ang O, dumami yung H. Oh, one of the donors ng pamparami ng hydrogen, ay ito, si NADPH. Oh, bigyan kita ng H. Oh, di na-reduce ka. Okay? What else? Ang dami niyang silbi. Oh. It prevents oxidative damage by keeping glutathione in the reduced state. Makikita niyo yan eh. O, ganyan si gluta pag na-oxidize, pag na-stress siya. O, paano siya makakabalik sa reduced state, sa usable form niya? Eh di i-reduce mo. Kumuha ka nito, bigay mo sa kanya. Yan. So, reusable si GSH, si glutathione. What else? Reductive biosynthesis of fatty acids and steroids. Sa lipogenesis mo, alam mo, CRDR, condense, reduce, dehydrate, reduce. Sa reduction steps, you use NADPH there. Kung wala NADPH, hindi ka makagawa ng taba. Okay? So, in a nutshell, this is PPP. Okay? So, it starts here sa glucose 6-phosphate. Okay? Kung nag-start ka sa glucose, edi phosphorylate mo yung carbon number 6. And it has 2 phases, PAC. Oxidative irreversible, OI, ang mnemonic natin dyan ha. The first phase is oxidative, also known as the irreversible phase. The second phase is non-oxidative or the reversible phase. Okay? So, ando ko lang to. Ba't mo binabackdock? Kasi hindi mabubura yung sulat ko. Anyway, sa oxidative phase, ang nangyari, glucose, nag-form ng mga 5-carbon sugar. What else? You synthesized this one. Okay? You synthesized this one. Akala ko ba dok oxidation yan? Ba't dumami H nito? Na-oxidize mo si glucose. Okay? Kung may na-oxidize, may na-reduce. Ito yun. Yan. Tapos nabawasan ng isang carbon. Kaya naging 5-carbon compound siya. That's so important. Itong ribulose compared kay ribose. No? Ribulose, di ba? Buloy. Cellulose, etc. But the thing is, anong important compound na synthesize dito sa oxidative phase? That's your NADPH. Na maggamit for synthesizing fatty acids, reducing gluta, and for detoxification. Okay? Next. What about the second phase? You have here the non-oxidative or the reversible phase. Anong important product dyan? Pag tinanong ka, it's your ribose. Okay? Ribose 5-phosphate. Which can be used to form your nucleotides. Specifically, yung RNA mo, di ba? Ribonucleic acid. Ano pa? DNA mo. Tanggalan mo lang ng oxygen yan sa carbon 2'. O deoxyribonucleic acid. Ang dami ng silbi. Okay? So just remember, sa OI, NADPH ang important. Sa NR, the sugar. Okay? Yung ribose. Okay? So recall lang, saan ba narinig yung ribose, ribulose na yan? Ribose is an aldose. Okay? 5-carbon siya. Okay? 5-carbon sugar. So we call it your ribose. Pag ginawa mong, ito kasi aldehyde yung pamilya niya, yung functional group. Pag ginawa mong ketone, ang functional group niya, nagiging buloy siya. Hoy, buloy. It's ribulose. This is a 5-carbon ketose. Ha? Kaya ano yung part ng RNA? Ribose. Okay? Part ng RNA, ribose. Saan na-synthesize? Oxidative o non-oxidative? Sa non-oxidative. Also known as the reversible phase. Ito si buloy, saan na-synthesize? Sa oxidative, irreversible. Ayan o. Oxidative irreversible. Uy, si buloy pala to. Sa NR, yun na, si ribose na. Yung kailangan ng RNA mo. Okay? So, si ribulose, dinaanan lang. Intermediate lang siya. Pero ang important sa atin, ito, si ribose. Okay. What else? Yung ribose na yan, important to synthesize your DNA. Okay, paano? If this is ribose, it's a 5-carbon sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ang carbons niya. Tanggalan mo lang ng oxygen here sa carbon number 2'. Yan. Pag sa DNA kasi yung labeling ng atoms dyan, may prime. Okay? Para hindi siya makalito. Sabi mo kasing carbon number 1. Carbon 1 ng ano? Ng nitrogenous base o ng sugar. So may designation. We'll get to that when we go to nucleic acid chemistry. So you just remove the oxygen here sa carbon 2'. Para saan yan, Doc? Para maging mas stable or less susceptible to nucleophilic attacks. Pwede kasi i-degrade yan ng mga nucleophiles. I-attack here. So ginawa ni Lord, tinanggalan niya yung oxygen para mas stable yung DNA compared sa RNA. So imagine mo kapag unstable yan, hindi na mutate agad yung tao, di ba? So hydrogen replaces the hydroxyl group in which sugar, pag tinanong ka, saan? Hydrogen replaces the OH group in which sugar? Deoxy sugar. Okay? HMP shunt has 2 phases. So let's start. You need 3 pieces of glucose 6-phosphate. Okay? So it's just a 6-carbon compound na may phosphate sa dulo, sa carbon number 6. So kuha ka ng 3 piraso nun. Yan. For instance, yan yung structure niya ha. Hindi ko na kinomplicate. And then, bawasan mo ng isa. So, may lost as carbon dioxide dyan. Tanggalin mo yan. O, di naging 5-carbon na lang. And that 5-carbon compound is ribulose 5-phosphate. Kasi sa oxidative irreversible phase pa lang tayo. Okay? So first phase, 3 G6P. May na-liberate. Tinanggalan mo, bawat isa. May na-liberate na carbon dioxide. And may na-synthesize na ribulose 5-phosphate. Okay? Rate limiting step, G6PD. Important product na na-form, NADPH. 2. Okay, 2 siya. The 5-carbon sugars are rearranged. So, isa-shuffle mo lang yan to generate glucose 6-phosphate, 2 glucose 6-phosphate, and isang G3P. It's a 3-carbon compound. Narinig nyo yan sa glycolysis. So, ito, si G3P, ito si G6P, G6P. So, 3 carbons, ito 6 carbon, 6 carbon. Ito parang kalahati ng 6, so ganyan. Shuffle lang siya, oh. Tingnan mo. We ended up with ribulose 5-phosphate in the first phase, oxidative irreversible. So, i-shuffle mo lang, i-isomerize mo or i-epimerase mo. Parang, pag isomerase, yung kamay mo, nilipat ko sa paa mo o sa puwet mo. So, pero nasayo pa rin, di ba? Shuffle lang yung carbons. Epimerase, yung epimer, di ba? Naalala nyo, si galactose naging, di ba C4 epimer siya ng D-glucose. So, whereas si ribulose, ang epimer niya, si cellulose naman. Epimer, yung OH mo, flinip mo sa isang side. Okay, na shuffle lang. 5 plus 5, 10, di ba? 7 plus 3, 10 din. 6 plus 4, 10. Ano pa? That's why the enzymes here are named as transaldolase, transketolase. Nagta-transfer lang ng carbons. Shuffle. Isomerase. So just know the sugars, okay, the intermediates. Sa non-oxidative or the reversible phase, ang important dyan ay yung na-formong ribose 5-phosphate. Because this one is used to synthesize your nucleotides. Ribonucleic acid, deoxyribonucleic acid. So dito yung galing. Okay? What else? Pseudoheptulose. Familiarize nyo lang. Kasi baka, alam mo na, minsan, ang tanong ay, baka lang, may chance na, which of the following sugars will appear or will not appear in HMP shunt? Yung wala dito. Hindi pseudo, G3P, fructose, erythrose, etc. So, summary ng oxidative and non-oxidative phase. So, oxidative, may na-form kang NADPH. This is the enzyme which is very important, rate-limiting enzyme. Sa non-oxidative, nag-form ka ng ribose 5-phosphate. Enzymes, mga taga-transfer. Transketolase, this one requires vitamin B1. Okay? TIC-TOP, naalala nyo, TIC-TOP. Thiamine pyrophosphate is the katulong or the coenzyme of transketolase. So you can use this to check for B1 deficiency. Kapag tama ang B1 supply mo, edi gumagana si transketolase. If mababa ang vitamin B1 mo, hindi mababa rin yung assay ng activity nito. So, low transketolase assay will signify B1 deficiency or thiamine deficiency. Sa HMP shunt, may carbon dioxide na na-release. Okay, tinanggalan mo isang carbon from 6 carbon, naging 5. So, napunta yung isa, lost as carbon dioxide. And if you don't have this one, G6PD, magpuputukan yung RBCs. So, there will be acute hemolytic anemia. NADPH for reductive biosynthesis. Gumagawa ka ng compounds using reduction reactions. Okay, so oxidative, irreversible. Ito may arrows, isang way lang. Okay, one way lang siya. Whereas kapag non-oxidative na or reversible, pwedeng papunta doon, pwedeng pabalik. Yan. Kasi reversible nga. Okay, so this is OI. Ito yung important. Ito yung enzyme na critical overall sa PPP. What else? Transketolase and transaldolase sa non-oxidative. But when asked ano yung B1 requiring, it's transketolase. Okay? 7 plus 3, 10, 6 plus 4, 10, etc. So this is a summary. Yan. Okay? So, ni-rewrite lang. G6P to 6PG. G6PD yung enzyme. 6PG, papuntang ribose, buloy, 6PG dehydrogenase yung enzyme. Okay? So, paano i-increase ang PPP mo? Pentose phosphate pathway. I-convert yan, yung boobies, sa lactating mammaries. Okay, kasi nakalagay dito, saan nangyayari? Sa liver, adipose, renal cortex, yung mga nagsisynthesize ng steroids. Lactating mammary. Hindi sa non-lactating, Kung gusto mo ma-increase ang PPP, pentose phosphate pathway, pa-convert ka sa lactating mammaries. Joke lang. So, metabolites in HMP, you have glucose 6-phosphate. Kumbaga, sino mga artista dyan? Sino kasali? Si ribulose, pero ito yung bida. Si ribose 5-phosphate. Okay? Non-oxidative or reversible phase, saan nangyayari? So, virtually in all tissues, specifically, mabilis mag-divide. Kasi kailangan nilang DNA So, bumilis ka, non-oxidative phase, diba? Sa DNA, RNA, kailangan mo si ribose. Etc. Transketolase versus transaldolase. Ano si transketolase? Ito siya, versus transaldolase. So, si transketolase, it transfers 2 carbon units comprising of carbon 1 and 2. Okay, of a ketose onto aldehyde carbon of an aldose sugar. Anyway, highlight nyo to. The coenzyme, the katulong of transketolase is thiamine. Okay, the active form is thiamine pyrophosphate. To check for vitamin B1 deficiency, kung ayaw mong gamitin clinical eye mo, kung may B1 deficiency ba yan, usually may mga Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome yan, B1 deficient. Chronic alcoholics, ano pa, beriberi. Yan. Pwede mo i-check, kaso mahal. RBC transketolase assay. Pag mababa, hindi gumagalaw yung enzyme, hindi gumagana, o kulang-kulang ka sa B1. Okay? Si transketolase, naglilipat daw ng 2 carbon. 5 to, di ba? Tanggalin mo yung dalawa, lipat mo dun. So, ito magiging 7, ito magiging 3 na lang. Yan. Whereas transaldolase, transfer 3 carbon unit into a 7 carbon, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Coenzyme, wala. So, know the following. You like PP or you like Dickens? Anong gusto mong pangalan yan? Dickenhor or PPP, etc. Know the functions. Know the important products. And para saan yung product na yan? When you say reduction reactions, usually nagbi-build ka dyan. Okay? Pang-synthesize ng stuff. Anabolic. Ana, build, kata, destroy. Pag oxidation reactions, usually may kinakatay ka. Yan. Kaya nga ang glycolysis, catabolism yun. Oxidation nangyayari doon. NADPH is for reductive biosynthesis. Nagbi-build ng fatty acids, steroids, cholesterol, yan. Aside from building, kailangan din siya ng RBCs para ma-regenerate yung magandang gluta, yung reduced glutathione. Important rin siya sa cytochrome P450. Narinig nyo na yan sa Cinobiotics, diba? Important rin for WBCs para mapatay niya yung kinain niyang mga bacteria. DNA definitely sa deoxynucleotide synthesis, and here sa nitric oxide synthesis. This one, si NO, vasodilator. Okay, pinapadami niya yung cyclic GMP. Yan. Yun yung second messenger niya. Remember the functions. Clinical correlates. So first, anong silbi ng PPP, di ba? Una, tinutulungan ng product ni PPP, which is NADPH, it will help your red blood cells fight against oxidative stress. How? So, ayan, no? If may oxidative stress, okay, hydrogen peroxide, for instance, na encounter, okay, sa RBCs mo, may glutathione. This is reduced gluta. Bakit reduced? May hydrogen. Okay? And then, kakalabanin niya yan, di-defeat niya si hydrogen peroxide. Boom, talo ka. So, ano nangyari? Si hydrogen peroxide naging tubig na lang. Oh, when you say oxidation, ano ulit? Dumadami ang O, kumukonti ang H. Oh, H2O to naging H2O. Ano nangyari sa kanya? Kumonte ang kumonte ang O. Oh, ano siya? Siya ay na-reduce. O, kung may na-reduce, malamang may na-oxidize. O, sino na-oxidize? Eto, si gluta. O, tingnan mo si gluta. Kanina may hydrogen, ngayon nawala. Na-oxidize siya. Yan. Pero okay lang kasi alam niya, makaka-resurrect siya, makakabalik siya. Paano? With the help of this enzyme. Si GR, glutathione reductase from the name itself. Okay, re-reduce niya si gluta. Okay? Gluta, gagawin ko ng paraan, makabalik ka dyan sa may hydrogen ulit. Saan mo kukunin yung pangbigay mo ng hydrogen sa akin? Kay NADPH. Okay? NADPH, sa'yo na yung hydrogen ko. Yan na, happy ka na. May panglaban ka na ulit sa incoming stress or radical. Ganon. Si NADPH, ano nangyari? Nireduce niya, ito si gluta. Ayan, happy na ulit siya. Ano nangyari kay NADPH? Natanggalan ng hydrogen, malamang. Kumonti hydrogen niya, di ba? Na-oxidize siya. Pero okay lang kasi kaya naman yan i-regenerate ni G6PD enzyme sa oxidative irreversible phase. Okay? So what will happen if wala kang G6PD enzyme? Di wala ka nagawang NADPH. So ano mangyayari after ni glutathione na oxidize? Makakabalik ba yan? Hindi. Hindi na siya makakabalik. Stuck siya dito. So next or sa incoming oxidative stress, hindi niya na mapapatay. Ano mangyayari sa red blood cell? Wala. Wala siyang panglaban sa oxidant. Mag-hemolytic anemia. Okay? So, ganun. Ano pa? So, due to the decrease in NADPH, which clears the free radicals in the RBCs and keep the iron in hemoglobin in the reduced state, these people are sensitive to certain drugs like primaquine, aspirin, sulfa drugs, consumption of fava beans, diba si Vicia fava, Latin, ang tawag dito, scientific name, and can also precipitate nga yung hemolysis. Okay? Yun. G6PD patients. Kumain ka ng fava, tapos nagputukan yung RBCs mo, favism. Okay? Si iron pa pala, si ferric pa pala, tinutulungan, ma-reduce itong NADPH mo. Okay? So, G6PD deficiency is the most common enzyme deficiency in humans sa buong sambayanan natin. This is X-linked recessive. So, ano nangyari? Wala kang G6PD, wala kang NADPH. Ano mangyayari? Si gluta reductase mo, hindi makakatrabaho. Ito yung katulong niya eh. May free radicals and peroxides, happy-happy. So, ano mangyayari? Pag na-stress si RBCs, nagpuputukan. Ano pa? Methemoglobinemia kasi yung iron ng hemoglobin mo naka-ferric. Pag ferric kasi, methemoglobin ang tawag. Ano bang mabuting iron? It should be in the ferrous form. Ferrous, good. Ferric, evil. Okay? You need NADPH to reduce this. Isa pang definition na reduction, bumaba yung charge. Wala ka nito, hindi mo ma-reduce to. So may methemoglobinemia din. Poor RBC defense against oxidizing agents. Yan. Okay? Precipitating factors sa G6PD deficiency, infection, drugs, such as the following. Highlight. Okay? So it's also needed to regenerate reduced gluta, tulad ng sinabi natin kanina. If di makabalik si reduced gluta, wala ka ng panlaban sa stress. Okay? Yan. Again, NADPH is important for lipid metabolism and glutathione reduction. Important to, yung si oxidized maging reduced gluta to fight against another incoming ROS, reactive oxygen species. Habang nakikipaglaban kasi si immune cells against bacteria, bacterial infection, may na-generate na ROS. So, okay lang kung may gluta ka naman. Okay? Kapag wala kang G6PD, wala kang NADPH, konti lang NADPH mo, so si gluta mo hindi basta-basta marireduce. So, iwasan mo na lang yung stress. Iwasan mo yung triggers ng G6PD. Yan. Mahaba ang listahan yan, hindi lang fava beans. Okay? Deficiency of G6PD is a major cause of acute hemolysis in erythrocytes. Okay, so most common enzyme defect in humans, G6PD deficiency. Pag most common glycolytic enzyme defect leading to hemolytic anemia, ano sagot doon? Pyruvate kinase deficiency. Pag most common enzyme defect leading to hemolytic anemia, overall, hindi lang sa glycolysis, G6PD pa rin. So, walang G6PD, wala nito, glutamo, tenga, naiwan here. Wala man silbi yan eh. Ito yung kailangan na form. Okay? Para ma-reduce mo yan. Etc. etc. Next. See that? Plasmodium falciparum, infected red blood cell. Okay? So, may advantage ba? Yung mga G6PD deficient patients, sabihin ng malaria, ay ayoko dyan, ang pangit ng red blood cell dyan, di ako makakapagparami ng lahi. So, G6PD deficiency can potentially protect against uncomplicated malaria, pero hindi sa severe malaria. Pwede pa rin pag bonggang-bonggang malaria yung dumapo. Yan. Okay? Nice to know for now. Sino yan? Nagpa-phagocytose ng diplococci. Si WBC mo yan, nagpa-phagocytose siya. Kinakain niya yung bacteria. Okay? Yan. Okay. You also need PPP para yung kinain nito, mapatay niya. May bactericidal thing ang WBCs mo, ideally. However, in this condition, chronic granulomatous disease, okay, kinain mo lang yung bacteria pero hindi mo napatay. Bakit? Ba't di niya napatay? There's deficiency in NADPH oxidase. So, walang NADPH oxidase kasi ganito siya. Yung green is your WBC. Yan. Tapos kinain, nilafang niya yung bacteria, in-engulf niya yung bacteria. And ideally, this enzyme should work. Okay, gamitin mo NADPH para patayin mo tong bacteria na to. Ayan, sabi ko may radicals na na-form. Okay? Hindi naman sinasadya. Pero, kailangan para mapatay ito. Yan. If you don't have this enzyme, kinain mo lang yung bacteria pero hindi mo napatay. Anong itsura mo niyan? Nagnanana. Okay? So this one, si NADPH oxidase converts molecular oxygen to superoxide in WBC. This is used in respiratory burst to kill the bacteria. If wala ka niyan, ang sakit ng patient ay chronic granulomatous disease. Bukol-bukol, granuloma nga Tapos nananana. Severe persistent chronic pyogenic, may pus. Yan, caused by catalase-positive bacteria. So, may itsura. Kwento yung WBC, parang siyang si Mimiya. Ano sabi niya? Rar, 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 rar. Ganon din si WBC. Kinain niya lang. Pag di niya napatay, nananana yan. Diba? Respiratory burst is also known as oxidative burst. This one involves the activation of the phagocyte NADPH oxidase complex. Again, pag CGD yung sakit, ito yung enzyme missing. Okay? Pag G6PD deficiency yung sakit, malamang G6PD yung wala. Okay? Yan. Saan nakikita si NADPH oxidase? Sa neutrophils and monocytes. They utilize oxygen as a substrate. Ayan, may kinain na bacteria, kailangan patayin natin. Ang gagawin ko, you use oxygen to synthesize yung mga panglaban ni Cardo Dalisay. Okay? Yan. May masamang dyan may masamang bala dyan. Okay lang, kaya i-neutralize ni gluta. Ideally. Okay? Kung wala kang ibang missing enzyme. So this one plays an important role in the immune response, rapid release of reactive oxygen species. NADPH plays a role in both the creation and neutralization of ROS. Okay? May isa pang enzyme dyan. Highlight nyo si number 3 or underline, Myeloperoxidase. Si MPO rather. Myeloperoxidase naman, anong role niya? It has a blue-green heme-containing pigment that gives sputum its color. Okay? So, oxygen, naging radical, NADPH oxidase. Itong radical na to na-convert sa agua oxinada or sa hydrogen peroxide, SOD yan, superoxide dismutase. Nag-form ka ng radical may chloride, o si MPO na yung may, yung may trabaho niyan, etc. etc. And this one, hypochlorite, yun na, ilalize niya si bacteria. Yan. Hydrogen peroxide, pwedeng ma-neutralize via catalase. So, syempre, may panglaban din si bacteria sa'yo. May catalase yung iba, o yari, walang silbi tong bala mo. Parang ganon. Okay? And then hydrogen peroxide, pwede rin i-neutralize ni reduced gluta. Okay? Kapag sobra, i-reduce mo. Para hindi niya i-attack yung sarili mong RBCs. Okay? Phagocytes of patients with chronic granulomatous disease, ano mangyayari? They can utilize hydrogen peroxide. Okay? They can utilize hydrogen peroxide generated by the invading organisms and convert it to ROS. Okay? Kung itong agua oxinada ay gawa ni bacteria, o kaya niya i-convert yan dito. Pero kung papagawa ka sa kanya, hindi niya kaya kasi wala ng NADPH oxidase eh. Yan. Patients are at risk for infection by catalase-positive species. Kung ang bacteria mo, kayang gumawa ng enzyme na to, o di yari. Kaya niyang i-neutralize yan. O di wala rin yan. So, hindi mo malalize ang bacteria, nananana ka. Yan. So, chronic granulomatous disease. Anong bacteria yung catalase-positive? Staph aureus, ano pa? Ano pang species yung pwede? Bukod sa bacteria, yung aspergillus mo. They are capable of neutralizing their own hydrogen peroxide, leaving phagocytes without ROS for fighting infections. So, nananana. Meaning, pag itong patients mo na may chronic granulomatous disease na infect ng Staph aureus or ng aspergillus, magnanana yan, okay? May panlaban sila eh. What else? Thiocyanine of Pseudomonas aeruginosa generates ROS to kill competing pathogens. Oxidative burst also leads to potassium influx, which releases lysosomal enzymes. Lactoferrin is a protein found in secretory fluids and neutrophils that inhibits microbial growth via iron chelation. Nice to know. Okay, so myeloperoxidase is responsible. Bakit green ang plema mo? Yan lang, so, ayan. Diagnose niya, oh, sakit ni baby. Malamang CGD, chronic granulomatous disease. Ganda yung presentation nila. Vesiculo-pustular lesion. May pustule. So, what links pentose phosphate pathway to glycolysis? Ano yung common sa kanila? Saan sila magtatagpuan? Sa G6P, sa glucose 6-phosphate. Okay? Yan. Tandaan, G6P is an enzyme of PPP. Oh. One of its main products is NADPH. The other important product is ribose 5-phosphate for nucleotide synthesis and ano pa? So, yun yan, DNA and RNA. Chronic granulomatous disease, you have deficiency in NADPH oxidase. Okay, tandaan na. Chronic granulomatous disease, CGD, NADPH oxidase ang nawawala. Okay? So, this enzyme will convert your molecular oxygen, yung oxygen na nakikita sa hangin, to superoxide radical. Saan? Sa leukocytes, especially sa neutrophils and macrophages. And it will be used to kill bacteria sa respiratory burst na tinatawag. Yan. Pag wala ka niyan, walang NADPH oxidase or walang NADPH kasi magka-problema ka dyan, so walang radical, walang pampatay ng bacteria. So you'll get severe, persistent, chronic, pyogenic infections caused by catalase-positive bacteria. Yan. Ilan ang transketolase sa pentose phosphate pathway? 2. Sa aldolase, 1. Severe B1 deficiency, decreased ang RBC transketolase assay. Ano ang vitamin na coenzyme ni RBC transketolase? Thiamine. Okay, thiamine. Oh, sagutan. PPP sa nag-occur versus glycolysis. They will both occur in the cytosol. Okay? Coenzymes, anong mga katulong gamit dito versus sa glycolysis? NADP sa PPP, NAD sa glycolysis. Remember, sa 6th step dito sa glycolysis mo. Goodness gracious, Father Franklin did go by picking pumpkin to prepare pies. Sa 6th step, may, may check from here. Okay? Ito yung ginamit. End products, important ones, include NADPH and ribose, 5-phosphate. Sa glycolysis, malamang yung pyruvate, ATP, and yung cheque. Pera and cheque. Rate limiting, G6PD. Sa glycolysis, si enzyme number 3, PFK1. May pera sa PPP, wale. Glycolysis, meron. So, sa anaerobic glycolysis, 30 to 32 kapag completely oxidized ang glucose. Okay, tagpuan ng PPP and glycolysis here sa glucose 6-phosphate. So when asked what is the intermediate in glycogen metab and is considered the gateway to other pathways such as PPP and glycolysis, that's your glucose 6-phosphate. Diyan sila nagtatagpuan, ha? They meet here sa glucose 6-phosphate. Kung baka common friend ni glycogenesis, HMP, glycolysis, gluconeo, this one. Common intermediate. So what's your answer here? In a patient with G6PD deficiency, the following are mababa except. So Tagalogin nyo pag nahirapan, ha? Ano ang mababa? Pag wala kang G6PD, ano to? Mataas, mababa ang ROS. Kalaban yan, di ba? O hindi mo mapapatay. Mababa ba dapat yan? Hindi mo nga mapatay kasi wala kang G6PD. What about fatty acids? Oh. Mababa, mataas. Makakagawa ka ba without G6PD, without NADPH? Hindi. So, decreased yan. NADPH, magagawa mo? Hindi. Hindi rin. Kasi wala yung rate-limiting enzyme. Ribose 5-phosphate, hindi rin. Kasi wala yung rate-limiting enzyme ng PPP, which is this one. Or ROS mo, mapapatay mo? Hindi. So, talamak siya. Yan ang hindi magdi-decrease. Okay? So, it is increased as there is no reduction of glutathione. Okay? Ano pa? Hindi mo na-reduce si gluta kasi walang NADPH. Hindi mo mapapatay yung ROS. Incorrect about PPP. Ano yung mali? Isa-isayin mo. Sa cytosol nangyayari, this is correct. Also known as HMP shunt, correct. G6PD is rate limiting, correct. Utilizes money and it will form NADPH. Ito tama. Pero kung nagko-consume ba ng pera, hindi. So, yan yung mali. Questions. What is the goal of PPP? Ilan ang transketolation? Ilan ang transaldolation? How many products per isang mole ng G6P? Sagutan mo. Then, ito nabigay ko na yung answers. The goal of PPP is to produce NADPH and ribose. Ilan ang transketolation? 2. Transaldolation, ang daming L, mukhang 1. Yan. Transketolation, 2. 2. Products per 1 mole of G6P, isang carbon dioxide, isang ribose, and 2 NADPH. Okay? Per piraso nito. Okay? Marker of B1 deficiency, anong enzyme assay? Transketolase ng red blood cell. Okay? Most common enzyme deficiency causing RBC hemolysis, G6PD. Pero pag dinugtong dyan, causing RBC hemolysis, most common enzyme deficiency in glycolysis, causing hemolytic anemia, ang sagot doon, pyruvate kinase deficiency. Drugs triggering G6PD include the following. Primaquine, dapsone, sulfa-containing drugs, so iwas-iwas sa mga cotry, mga ganyan. Favabines. G6PD protects against Plasmodium falciparum malaria. Sabi ni Malaria, ay ayoko dyan, ang pangit ng red blood cell niya. Hindi magta-thrive ang lahi ko. So, yun. Ito yung swerte, medyo swerte. Yan. Okay? So, that's it for PPP, or hexose monophosphate shunt, or pentose phosphate pathway. Okay? Good luck. Study smart.